Hey guys, this is my February TBR video. I have a kind of ambitious stack of books that I'd like to get through this month, and so I just want to go over them with you for a minute or two. I do have a pretty big stack, so I'm going to try to keep this as brief as I possibly can. So I'll just jump right in. The first book that I'd like to read this month is Enchantress from the Stars by Sylvia Engdahl. I started it in January and I got about 80 pages in. I'm not really feeling it right now, but I would like to finish it because the premise is incredibly unique and exciting. The premise is really exciting. It's these anthropologists in this federation of planets who go visit this youngling planet who is more of a feudal society planet because another third group of people are trying to colonize it. So you've got this people on this planet who believe in magic and dragons and fairy tales, and then you have these super advanced creatures and people who are trying to help them out, and it's kind of a really cool blend of science and fantasy. And I'm really liking it. The writing is a little flowery, which is why it's taking me so long to get through, but hopefully I can do it sometime this month. But maybe I'll set it aside for now. The next book that I'd like to read this month is The Lies of Locke, Lamora by Scott Lynch. Babbling Books is doing a read-along for this book, so I'm going to join her in that. I have been wanting to read this for a while. It looks like it's right up my alley, so I'm pretty excited to get started on it. I might actually read this one next just because of the stack of books, this is the one that's calling to me the most right now. That is something kind of interesting about having a TBR is that I'm really bad at keeping up with them because I usually just pick whatever book feels right at the moment. And so even if I have other books that I should be reading, I'll read the ones that call to me. So these aren't really in an order necessarily. The next book that I'd like to read this month is also a read-along with my friend Bethany, who is the Bibliophilic Witch. She's doing a read-along for The Drafters by Kim Harrison, a book that I just happen to have. I am really excited to read this one with her. There's also a challenge video that I'm going to do in conjunction with this read-along. I think this one starts either the 5th or the 7th of the month, and I can't remember which. I should probably look that up before I get started. I've never read Kim Harrison before, but Bethany's a pretty big fan of her writing, and I trust her judgment. And this is different than her other series, which is more paranormal romance, which this might be a little bit of that too, but it is set in the future, and I love me some future. The next book that I'd like to read this month is a book that I borrowed. It is Angel of Storms by Trudy Canavan. It's the sequel to Thief's Magic, and I think it's called Millennium's Rule is the series name. And I'm really excited to read it. I read Thief's Magic in like an evening, and it's like a 500-page book. I read it in 3 or 4 hours, and I powered right through it because it was so exciting and well written. And so I'm very excited to read the sequel sometime this month. I also, since I borrowed it, I should probably return it as soon as I can. So that's why it's on the immediate TBR and not I'll read this eventually TBR. The next series of books that I'm actually planning on reading is the the Live Ship Traders trilogy by Robin Hobb. I have been really excited to read these for a while, and I've been waiting for them all to come in paperback so that I could pick them up and have one format for all 3 books as opposed to having one that's a mass market and then one that's a trade and one that's a hardcover, and because I hate that so much. So I finally got all 3 in mass market paperback, and I'm going to read them this month. Pretty excited. They are kind of big, so hopefully I can get through them and all the other books that I'd like to read this month. The next book that I would love to pick up sometime this month is Seed to Harvest by Octavia Butler. This is actually a quadrology, the Wild Seed quadrology. I have been really excited to read this for a while. It looks really good. I am a huge Octavia Butler fan. Hey, stop. My cat, sorry. I'm a really big Octavia Butler fan, and I'm really excited to read this book. So I'll do this one at some point this month, and it's bit of an ambitious read. I'm kind of thinking I'm biting off more than I can chew. I'd also like to read another Octavia Butler book this month, Kindred, which I've actually read before and really enjoyed. I'm reading it for my book clubs, which is at the end of the month, so I need to reread it sometime before that. I really loved this book. You've got time travel, you've got race issues, you've got a really great story. with a really wonderful cast. This is probably one of the first science fiction novels published by a Black woman, which I feel like elevates it to a very important level in my mind. And then I've got maybe 2 or 3 more. I'd really like to read On Beauty by Zadie Smith. Again, I've already actually read this before, but I read it in 2010, and so it's been a while, so I'm excited to reread it and maybe pick up on some more things that I might not have noticed before. It's a beautiful, beautifully written book, and I'm a huge Zadie Smith fan, so I'm very excited to reread this one. And then the last one that I'm actually planning on reading this month is Drumroll Cinder by Marissa Meyer. Everyone seems to be like going crazy over this book lately, and I actually managed to grab the entire series, minus the newest one, in hardcover for free at my job, so I might as well read them, right? So I'm going to start Cinder. I read this in, I think, 2011 when it came out, but I don't remember anything that happens, so we'll see if it's just as good as I remember and if the rest of the series holds up, and I'm excited to talk about it with you. If you've read any of these books, or if you have any suggestions based on what I've talked about today, please leave them in the comments or send me a message on Tumblr or whatever. I'm going to post links to the blogs that I spoke about earlier in the video and the description, and I hope that I get through all of these books. Yeah, so what are you reading this month? Let me know in the comments. And hey, if you kind of like what I do here, then you can subscribe and tell your friends, and I don't know, send me pictures of your cat. That sounds great.